Hello and welcome to our podcast. We're the proud sponsors of the Betfred Super League and now the Betfred Championship and the Betfred League One. I've got a legend of a game alongside me as well. It's Paul Sculthorpe. 4 grand final wins, 4 Challenge Cups, England appearances, Great Britain appearances, and Scully, it's actually the international I want to start with because the news this week that Wayne Bennett has signed a 2-year contract.
Yes, so obviously Wayne's extended on his current deal with England, obviously to cover the 2018 and then the Great Britain Lions 2019 tour. So excellent news for the game, and they continue to on top of a successful World Cup.
Successful World Cup, a very unlucky World Cup as well. I mean, you were out in Australia. That was heartbreaking, wasn't it? The 6-0 defeat.
It was. I mean, I think if we'd have said, before the competition, you're going to get beat 6-0 in the final against Australia, I think it'd have been seen as a highly successful competition. And as it was, just disappointing when you get so close and you make the final. Obviously, all thoughts are on coming on with the trophy, but the lads certainly did themselves proud. And
how important was the experience for those lads as well?
Massive experience, it's a very young squad as well. We look at the players constantly throughout the England programme, and you look at the players that have come through, and obviously building now, and that's part of obviously Wayne's extension on his contract. He's building towards that home World Cup in 2021, and there's a lot of them players who are going to be hitting their prime come that time.
Okay, let's hear from some of the players talking about Wayne Bennett extending his contract.
I've never seen the group as happy, as close, as one, and it's just a pleasure to be a part of.
I think you can see the progression we've made over the last few years with Wayne at the helm.
I'll tell you why it makes you want to play for him, and all the boys just had a great respect for him, and I dare say if you ask all of them, he'd have spoken to them all individually at times and given them tips and probably giving them a clip around the ear at times as well, but we all need that, right? And Wayne's a good man to be leading the ship.
Very simple with his approach to players and individuals. Gives you a job and a role to do. Doesn't expect anything different from you, anything flashy. Just go out there and do your role for the team.
He's one of the best of the generation, but probably of our game's history as well.
So Wayne Bennett has extended his contract, and it was so close in that final, wasn't it? Just 6-0. Wasn't quite so close for Leeds in Australia last week, though, was it?
No, disappointing performance from Leeds in the World Club Challenge. Coming up against, without doubt, the best rugby league team in the world at the moment.
Did it show how good the NRL is?
I think it did. I think obviously Melbourne are the outstanding team in the NRL, but that's the level that the NRL teams play at week in, week out, and it's just the strength of their competition throughout, and it certainly told in that game.
OK, well, let's look back at that game. It was a disappointing game for Leeds, of course, against the Melbourne Storm, and the last team to win out in Australia now was Wigan in 1994.
Here's the final play, pass Sill, away to Ward, loops the pass, Ryan Hall's going to score for Leeds. The Rhinos will get first points. Here's Croft, plays short, good ball, Bromwich crashes over. There's the reply from Melbourne. Last minute of play, here's Fanuka, and he bashes his way over and he's got it down. Okay, Ash.
So a heavy defeat for Leeds, unfortunately, representing the Betfred Super League out there in Australia, but fair play for Leeds for going out there.
Fantastic, big effort to go over to Australia, certainly for one game, but it is such a massive game. But as I say, coming up against Melbourne, who, even if you've seen the interview with Craig Bellamy after the game, highlighted Cameron Smith and Billy Slater. Now, they've won the minor premiership, they've won the premiership, they've got every single individual honour between them throughout the game. So you look at some of the players in that team. Leeds was certainly up against it, but great effort.
Brian McDermott and his team will obviously have been gutted after that, but can he have taken something from the experience?
Does take a lot from the experience. Seen the interview with young Jack Walker, the fullback. I mean, he was having an outstanding game up until getting injured, and he's having a great year. But for somebody so young, and they've got a lot of young players, as we mentioned, as is the England squad, who will take a lot of experience from that game, learn from the players that they played against as well, and take that into their careers going forward.
OK, we're going to carry on talking about Australia, but now it's an Australian coach we're going to turn our attention to. Steve Price is now in charge of Warrington, of course, and he picked up his first win against Widnes last week. But this week, it's Wigan.
I'm hoping for a jet lag at Wigan, but we're anticipating a nice, hard, aggressive game of football. It's a local derby. It's back at Halliwell Jones. It's a big game for us, and we're expecting a fierce battle come Friday night. And I'm sure they've managed their sleep patterns and been able to stay awake at a certain amount of times to be able to nullify the jet lag and all the eating requirements, what goes into it. And there's a lot of planning and sports science in the game now, which previously from years gone by wasn't a great emphasis. So. Whatever they do. Not too concerned, but it's important that we bring a hard, aggressive style of football come Friday night. And if you haven't got a ticket, get down to Halliwell Jones next Friday night. Get in the stand and cheer loud and support the boys.
So Steve Price calling for all you Warrington fans to get down to the Halliwell Jones Stadium on Friday night. It's live on Sky as well. I suppose the big question is how Wigan are going to return. They played that Super League game against Hull, which are won out there, and obviously they played that friendly as well. What do you think? What state will Wigan be?
Yeah, I mean, Wigan, it's a tough ask to turn around. Obviously, on the back of them two games, landing Monday night and play Warrington, which is always a massive game anyway on the Friday evening. So I'm sure Wigan will be fatigued, but if there's one game you can get up for, it'll certainly be the Warrington game at Warrington, and probably not a bad time to play Warrington as well. They're certainly not hitting the straps at the moment.
No, they've got the first win. I mean, if it had been 3 defeats, and the pressure really would have been on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of the talk, we spoke before the season again, could it be Warrington's year? And they've certainly looked poor so far in Super League, and it was no easy game against Widnes last week. I thought Widnes were outstanding at times, and Warrington desperate for that win which they got.
Go on then, prediction, Warrington Wigan.
So I'm going to go for Warrington, certainly on the handicap. I just think that turnaround from Wigan will have taken something out of their legs.
Well, also on Friday night, it's Huddersfield versus St Helens, and Saints have been superb so far this season. Let's say from Aussie coach Justin Holbrook.
Everyone has recovered well, and we sort of trained as normal, but felt a bit weird not having a game on the weekend. But ready to go this week against Huddersfield. Yeah, strong side. As you said, they were disappointed round one with their performance and bounced back in good fashion last week at home. So, Denny Brough organising their side and kicking them round is a real big threat. And then you got the smarts of Ryan Hinchcliffe, and then young Ikiafino, the strong front rower, and then McGilvray will probably be back. So, and Jake Memo's got a lot of energy at the back. So they've got some good threats. We need to be ready on Friday.
Justin Holbrook there talking to Betfred TV. Well, I watched them against Castleford. They were superb, weren't they?
They were outstanding. Great start to the season. Two wins from two, obviously going down to Catalan as well, which is always a tough game, and pulling a second win. So the boys are certainly flying, and as we expected, tipped them at the beginning of the year for honours this year, and they're certainly not letting down at the moment.
Are we seeing the real Ben Barber?
Yes, I think so. I think everybody knows what a quality player is, what quality player Ben is, and we spoke about him last year. Obviously, he was a bit underdone come game time last year, coming into the back 5 games of the season, but he's had a pre-season and started the same as everybody else this year, and I think that's telling. You can just see the world-class player in him.
Huddersfield have a return of Jermaine McGilvey. What a World Cup he had.
He's an outstanding player, Jerry. Been fortunate to be involved with Jerry, the England set up in the last couple of years, and he just doesn't do anything wrong. He's a quality player and one of the superstars of the World Cup, and certainly a big boost for Huddersfield ahead of this game.
Come on in, Huddersfield Saints, prediction time.
I've got to take Saints. I've got to take Saints on current form. You know, Huddersfield on their day, we said it before, they're capable of beating anybody, and you look at their result against Warrington earlier, a couple of weeks ago, and but coming against a Saints team that are in form, so I've got to back Saints.
Very quickly, one more game on Friday night, Salford versus Hull KR. Salford need to get going.
They do. They need to get going, and they're up against a team, confident as well at the moment, coming up for a good win against Catalan last week. So that'll be a tough game for Salford.
Saturday live on Sky, we've got Castleford versus Hull. It was close fought against Widnes for Castleford. Daryl Powell actually said he was pleased there was a gap. You just feel like Castleford need to regroup, don't you?
Yeah, Castleford, they're always going to be a team that everybody wants to beat this year after the year that they had last year, and that's certainly proven early on in the season. Now they're coming up against Hull, who again are coming on the back of that flight from Australia. It's at Castleford, and you expect them to bounce back at some point. So this could be the game.
And then also on Saturday, Catalans versus Wakefield. Wakefield unbeaten. Yeah,
Wakefield carried on from where they left off last year. Outstanding team, and the size of their pack is absolutely humongous, and they're certainly doing some damage at the moment. Catalan just can't do anything right, so I expect a Wakefield win.
OK, let's turn our attention to Sunday. It's Widnes versus Leeds, and Dennis Betts, the Widnes coach, is not expecting an easy game against the grand final winners.
They don't win as many grand finals as they've won. They don't come through the adversity they come through the last 3 or 4 years, with what happened at their training ground, where they finished in the table, the players that they've lost along the way and the players they've had to replace, without actually having a real good leadership in place, good management, good coaches, people that have got good direction, everybody knows their job there, and they come out and they win. And they win when they're not playing well, and they win when they need to win, and it shows a champion side, and that's what we're facing. We're not facing a side who's had to travel around the world, that's just making up the numbers. We've taken a side that's been out. Everybody would swap their places with Leeds if they had the opportunity to go out to Australia and play in a World Club Challenge after winning the grand final last year. You'd swap your places with anybody, and they've had a good start this year. They've got a couple of wins on the board already, so they're not in a bad place.
So Dennis Betts talking to Betfred TV. Scully, I suppose the big question is, how have Leeds recovered and returned from that game against Melbourne? That's
the big question, and also they've not got a good record at Widnes as well on the high pitch, and I think Widnes they've started the season well, quite surprising really. I know a lot of people's choice for the wooden spoon, but certainly early performances have gone against that. Two good wins, and then a disappointing loss against Warrington, which they could have won last week. But you see some great players in their team, and Joe Mellor at halfback is certainly Widnes' biggest problem is going to be if they get injuries, because they've not got a big squad to choose from.
And what does Brian McDermott do? Because speaking to Brian at the launch of a Super League, speaking to Ryan Hall as well, I know you well, they were desperate to put on a big performance in Australia, weren't they? So how does he pick them up now for the Betfred Super League? Well,
they've got to pick themselves up. They are the current champions, and they've got a lot of experience in that team as well. You expect Leeds to learn from that game against Melbourne, as I say, learn from the players that they played against, some of the best in the world, and come back and now put that into and focus on Super League. So I think it's going to be a tough game. I expect Leeds to just get the win, but I think it'll be close.
OK, Scully, thanks very much for your time. So forget Australia, the Betfred Super League is back, and please keep it fun, gamble responsibly, and I'll see you next week.